And one. Welcome in to the latest episode of the Formula One podcast on the Bet in the Pitch podcast network. I'm your host, real_G Warner, joined by Roscoe Poop Scoop. Angel, how are you doing on this beautiful Friday, May 30th?
I'm doing good. Excited for the weekend and excited for another race. I need another race to get out of Monaco blue, I guess.
We need to get off the Monaco blue. We are now moving to Catalunya, to the Barcelona side of Spain for the Spanish GP. We'll be going through, of course, recapping what happened in Monaco, then also going through some updated numbers to win the race, who we like to finish top five, three, six, 10, whatever we're coming up with today. Of course, Isaac Hadjar did finish top 10 back-to-back weeks. So that was my best bet winner. And thank you for the very silent clapping over there. Appreciate that. I think there's a good chance we might end up there again later on this show, but I don't know. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Angel, tell me about your pick, how you feel about how the race went. Anything you'd like to as we start off this episode.
Yeah, I think it's probably gonna be the main theme of the Monaco recap. But I think last week we had a lot of faith, or I had a lot of faith on sort of the two pit stop strategy, which is not strategy, it's a mandatory requirement. You have to have three different sets of tires, meaning you have to pit twice. I had a lot of faith in that which could, I guess, in my opinion, could have changed up things. But with the Monaco track being so narrow and a little bit short, you see people lapped and there's just a lot of sort of a team strategy went into it, which make the whole race, sorry, it's like dragged so long and it just I hate to say boring because the race is very exciting, but it is such a boring race in a way. It's like worse um than Suzuka, the Japanese Grand Prix, because it's not racing anymore. You have like teams kind of like playing the games and holding each other up just so you get the and really slow down to hold others up so you get your teammate time to get the free pit stop and not losing any track position. I'm sure we'll repeat that a lot more, but I think I went for I think Alex Albon top six. Obviously, that didn't come through. In the funny enough, Isaac Harja actually finished top six, right, or number six. Could have picked him, but I think William did kind of have a stronger quality than Mercedes, but not as strong as even just a racing ball, the mid tier sort of a comparison, right? And I think the racing ball, honestly, like it's gonna get people a lot of points on the fantasy, the F1 fantasy, if you have that as a constructor. But obviously, they are doing also very well right now. So, I think that's kind of where went wrong. They quality really well and they played the team game. They held the William drivers, and the William driver held the Mercedes drivers. The Mercedes driver held the following ones, so you just never see any overtakes. And that's
So,
what happened.
so it seems like, so I'll go through the results. So Lando Norris, winner. Charles Leclerc, who it seemed like the market did like a fair amount heading into this race, more so than any other. Not just because he wears the Monaco flag on his chest or on his name tag on the scoreboard, or finish line, or I guess leaderboard. Oscar Piastri finished third, Max Verstappen fourth, which feels pretty low for him. Lewis Hamilton in fifth, Hadjar sixth, as you mentioned, Ocon seventh, Lawson eighth, Albon ninth, and Sainz 10th. To your point, and I think as longtime listener and commenter Joe Dollar came in with, he was mentioning how he felt, and I think you felt similarly, that there was a qualification that was really going to determine how this race ended up finishing. When you speak to the team game, because we've talked about that a lot, really for McLaren so far this season, just because they have the best car, as many times mentioned by at Roscoe Poop Scoop on Twitter. But it seemed to me that we hadn't really talked about the team game much outside of McLaren. Um, of course, we do want to, and we will get much deeper into the Spanish GP upcoming this weekend. But do you think Monaco was just a special race and that's how it is because that's how it's built? Or do you see that team game coming more into play later in the season once kind of, I guess, roles are established as you get through the first, I don't know, few races that we've finished so far this season already?
Yeah, I think the team game came like really sort of strong in Monaco for mostly two reasons. Like number one is really about how the track is being built, right? Very narrow, very hard to overtake. And that's why qualification is probably important. And we estimate around 80 or 80%, and then I went down 70% trying to attribute some sort of a regulation requirements around the pit stop, but quite contrary, that pit stop sort of requirement actually made it even
Even
harder
more
overtake.
difficult to
Yeah,
overtake people is, yeah, what it
yeah.
seems like to me. Sure.
So yeah, number one is the track itself. Number two, I guess I kind of said it. It's just a pit sort of requirements, the two pit stop being mandatory, but then the tire degradation, someone again take a shots. The tire degradation isn't that too bad for Monaco racetrack, meaning like actually people trying to get out of the pit stop like just when they actually don't need to pit. But they will have to pit because that's a mandatory because if you don't pit, you will get I think a 15 seconds penalty on your end result or something like that. Um, so that being said, I think people come in play that team game, right? If I'm ahead and you are behind me, you hold the driver behind me to build enough of a gap, let's say 20 to 30 seconds of a gap, because that's how much a pit stop gonna cost you. And then you come out not losing any track position. Because anytime you pit on a normal track, you're gonna lose 20 to 30 seconds, and that probably going to cost you track position. But with the Monaco track being so narrow and so hard to overtake, you can actually hold people at a lot slower pace, and no one still can overtake you. And a couple times, like Russell almost ran into Carlos Sainz's rear wing because he was holding up for Alex Albon to pit like enough time and just run his race. um it's almost a little bit ugly in my opinion because it's not racing in pure sort of a speed and performance per se, but you just like being there, driving the car, holding people up, you know. I mean, it's gamesmanship, like you play that to get the position.
I respect it because sports of course are awesome. If you are anywhere near the Betting the Pitch podcast network, you know that we cover pro football, college basketball, baseball, and F1. So plus soccer as well. So like to me, I am into sport. However, I do like the combination of strategy and sport kind of into one. It seems like though at Roscoe Poop Scoop on Twitter is more about the racing, and it didn't feel like in her recap that Monaco is much of a race, which is especially funny because all the richest people in the world seem to all go to Monaco for like the worst race on the circuit. But I guess location, location, location. You can get on your yacht pretty quickly. You can get in and out on
Oh
your yacht
God.
very quickly. And I think I actually, when I was in Monaco in September, I saw what was this crazy colored red and black yacht. And I was like, I wonder if that's Ferrari related, but it might be. So that probably is enough for us to talk about on Monaco because I always want to know your opinion on when we move from one race to the next. Clearly, it's not too far from France to España or Catalunya specifically, because I know they don't want to be Spanish, but that's a
Mm.
whole nother episode probably we don't have time for. How do you compare the Spanish Grand Prix compared to the Monaco Grand Prix?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little bit different, like for sure, because the track just I don't think any track on the calendar that's like can be compared with Monaco. I mean, we know Suzuka was hard to overtake. Imola was hard to overtake, but ultimately the tire aspect of the things came really shake things up in Imola. Unfortunately, that didn't shake anything up in Monaco. Um, I like team strategy. I like the tire offset, and I like your in lap, out lap, like push all those, try to gain to get the track position. But I think it was just a little bit for Monaco. It was less about it's lack of that sort of combination of things. Very much so on the team game. But going
It's a
in,
strategy race as opposed to a race
yeah,
race. I get that. Okay, so you're
yeah,
expecting, I mean, Spain must be a little bit more interesting to at Ross
yeah.
the Poop Scoop because it can't be as bad as it was in Monaco. It can't be.
No, no, no. Actually, like I feel like I spoke Monaco so low, and like
Well,
I know
all I
you're trying,
know, based on what you said, there is no chance of going back to Monaco for this race because it's
right?
not even a good one. It's
Don't even go for
expensive
the yard
caviar.
life
That's it.
or the like when you are rich, don't even go for the yard and the helicopter.
When
But
I'm rich, what do you mean? No, keep going. Yeah.
yeah. But granted, I mean the Monaco qualifying was really exciting, even between Lando and Charles. I know Lando won the race, got the pole and all that, but Charles put on a good show for everyone, like got the provisional pole, and then Lando came in very last second, still stole from that, right? It was exciting there. Don't get me wrong. It's still a fun race. It's still a race, and I love
It's all
all
right.
races.
I don't think the whole Monaco planning committee is listening to this podcast. I'd love if
Right,
they
right,
are. And
right. I
please,
know.
if you are, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. But I think next year, when we continue this podcast, as soon as I see the qualification results, I'm just going to bet exactly how it is down the line.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
maybe we will
exactly.
be rich enough to attend the next Monaco race. So, okay. So I'm going to move you to
Yeah,
Spain now. So tell me
yeah, yeah.
how the Spanish GP, is there a race on this calendar we've already seen that it compares to the most? Is it just very different from Monaco because there's going to be more to the racing aspect of it than the strategy one?
Yeah, I think Spain, like the closest that we've seen so far that's similar to the Barcelona track is probably Saudi Arabic or Bahrain.
But
It's
with
gonna
far
be
less tire degradation.
it's high tire
Oh,
degradation,
oh, 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 hi.
a lot
Okay.
of high speed corner, which is I don't you don't see, like I think of Bahrain being a testing track and Barcelona being a testing track, the reason they're the testing track because they just have all sort of a diverse aspect to the track. You got high speed corner, low speed corner, long street, and then you have like the high tire degradation to play your tire sort of performance. Yeah, so all of that's all gonna be available in Barcelona, which I think is similar in a way to Bahrain. Like they got everything, but Bahrain's deck wasn't as big as sort of Saudi, right? So all that said, I think it's kind of similar, but honestly, it's most similar to upcoming racetrack like Austria, Red Bull sort of a track, or Zandorf in Netherlands. So
Okay.
those are more similar to that.
So when I
But
go back to Bahrain, we had Oscar Piastri as winner, George Russell second, Lando Norris third, Leclerc fourth, Hamilton fifth, Verstappen sixth. That's about as low as I can remember seeing Max finish this season. Um,
yeah,
do you think that so? I guess it's probably worthwhile just to reference the numbers here, since that's what we kind of are supposed to do. In this Spanish Grand Prix, it seems like Lando Norris installed as the favorite back yet again. Oscar Piastri had done, I feel like, a pretty good job of overtaking him almost, or at least getting pretty much put on the same type of level as Lando. But he's I mean, 2 percentage points or so less likely to win according to the odds. Max Verstappen third at 333. So 100 US dollars will win you 333 if you bet him to win the race. George Russell still pretty much seems to be always around the fourth position, except for last week when Charles Leclerc got bet pretty heavily, finished second. But now he's, I guess, not at home anymore. So he's
Yeah.
thrown off out to the wayside. So we got Lando, Piastri, Verstappen, George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton. Then is, I guess, sixth most likely, or yeah, sixth most likely to win the race, followed by Kimi Antonelli at 40 to 1. Lewis Hamilton was 22 to 1. And then we got a lot of long shots off of that as well. Plus a Jack Doohan that I guess is just either retired from the sport or is racing about as much as I am these days. Is there any, I guess, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. So I think Charles Leclerc's the biggest story here because his numbers keep going all over the place. And to me, like, there's the efficient market hypothesis in really the stock market and gambling, of course, sports betting. I mean, to me, they're all the same type of gambling. It's just one is more legalized or looked at more friendly than others. But usually the whole theory behind it is the market is always right. And it seemed like the market was pretty dang close last week in Monaco with backing Charles Leclerc. Now he's pretty much settled back to where he has been for a while and much less likely to win this race. Do you think there's some value on Charles Leclerc because he raced so well last weekend, but obviously, as you mentioned, it was a very different race.
Yeah, I guess before we spoke that because I do think Charles last week, the Monaco race track, sorry, you keep dragging me to the Barcelona.
It's okay.
But
It's okay.
Monaco track is, they do have a lot more slow corner, which is what Ferrari is good at, right? And we've spoken enough. He's from there, like he grew up there by the racetrack, and there's just a level of confidence that no other driver has as much as Charles in driving that track. But
He could
all
do
that
it
said,
blindfolded, like the Ricky Bobby Talladega Nights movie way back when. Yes, God,
right.
he knows it like the back of
Um,
his hand. So home race does seem to matter. Okay,
yeah. Well, I think also the car suits better there. But coming to Barcelona, there is an interesting fact I have to share is a new technical directive coming into Barcelona and gonna be the new sort of regulatory rule going forward for the season is a really limited front flex wing. So think about your F1 car. The flex wing, like the front wing has like holes there, and then how much you flex those sort of each layer of your front wing.
right.
Um, is gonna have a lot of aerodynamic impacts and the balance impact of your car. And typically that's gonna impact a lot of the sort of the high speed corner because even like I mean just gonna impact all balance across the whole track. And McLaren had been they took advantage and read the FIA rules, I guess, from the past year, and really interpreted it correctly, and they implemented it correctly. So they had the front flex wings that really gave them a lot more balance than a lot other cars. And Red Bull complained so much since last season. Christian Horner, especially, and you always expect him to complain. Um, and then I think Ferrari probably spoke a little bit about that because that's really their weakness is the balance they are facing. And Mercedes they are always being very strong on the straight line, but they don't really have a good strong sort of a balance either. So all that said, McLaren had been benefiting from this for the past almost over a year, and now the new technical directive basically is with a goal to limit McLaren's sort of performance in that way, right? Um, I think that being said, you know, I'm a little bit surprised like Charles went down so much in terms of the winning probability
Yep.
because technically you would expect, Ferrari now probably gonna be just like put it more on the level fields as like Red Bull or McLaren or even like a Mercedes, all four of them putting on a similar level fields. But I think just thinking about looking at the this morning's free practice results, right? Um, McLaren still kind of top the both free practice. Lando got the first one, Oscar got the second one. Like you start questioning how much this technical directive gonna impact the true McLaren performance.
Sure.
And it's not the first time they try to put a regulation rules and try to limit a constructor's performance, but end up benefiting them because like everybody else is also impacted. Is to what extent, right? So maybe McLaren isn't the most impacted in terms of the performance with the new rule, but it was definitely implemented with a goal to limit them. I think we will definitely see a little bit more in terms of like how this new rule gonna impact everyone's car performance tomorrow in the quali. But all that said, um, I think Ferrari is a little bit lower than I expected, but I don't know if they have the car to win the race per se. So maybe that justify why, just from a race winning perspective, they're not as high.
Understood. Okay, so it seems like how much do you take from? I mean, it's a very small difference, but it seems like Oscar Piastri as one of the McLaren teammates that he kind of started the year certainly as a less likely champion for Formula One and seemed to be kind of an understudy in the shadow of Lando Norris. Then it seemed like he caught up, and there's been probably mutual respect, I think, in terms of gambling respect from the marketplace over the past few weeks. It seems like Lando's kind of wrestling that control back. Do you still see, and I hate to bring this up, but I do like to keep getting your opinion on the team dynamic. Um, does especially every race that Lando wins, the chances that he is the winner gets better, and so you might want to support that. You said less of a team race because Monaco seems to be the ultimate. Do you still think that both the team constructor is really about just winning in general, or do you think there's any potential interest in shifting to more interest in having Lando be their cash cow, if you will, that they're kind of trying to ride to the finish line?
I mean, right now, Oscar is still leading the championship by 3 points. It's not much, but he is still leading that, right? I think McLaren is just a little bit unique. They do have this papaya rule, right? It's just the papaya color, the papaya rule, is being like treating they don't have number one driver, and that's what they've been telling for years, even before they became strong. But I do think Lando, like he's a little bit like low time, right? Coming after Bahrain, after Saudi, and even Miami. I try to kind of like cheer him emotionally and even betting wise, and that didn't make
Yes.
any difference.
You were a big cheerleader, yes. Unfortunately,
Right.
I don't know that he saw our podcast.
No, he didn't get it. But I do think the confidence from Monaco, as much as I hate it, is still one of favorites of everyone or rich people, I guess.
And it's probably very fresh in the minds of everyone because you
Yeah,
are ultimately going race to race, and probably
yeah,
there's not a ton of skill that changes from one place to another. It just seems to me how the driver, of course, the cars don't seem to change too much. You've been very consistent all year. McLaren has by
yeah,
far the best vehicle.
yeah,
And I guess, I mean, until I guess it gets out of hand, there's probably going to be no change, and I'll take that as your answer. So, I guess to go further, so in terms of listener comments, Joe Dollar came in with a very simple one this week. He said, "Let's keep it simple here." Thank you, at Joe Dollar. Appreciate that. Bet as much as you feel comfortable on Hadjar top 10 plus 150. I feel like the bookmakers are not watching the races. And I got to say, considering I picked Isaac Hadjar to finish top 10 last week, he finished sixth. I could have gone way up the risk curve, though. Ultimately, anything with plus money, I think, especially a top 10 this week, I'm seeing a plus 105. So I think the bookmakers are paying a little bit more attention, or maybe the marketplace is betting Isaac Hadjar a little bit more. Tell me what you saw from him, what you've seen from him this season, because he's still not beloved amongst the betting public, but has been performing certainly not at the winning of the race type level. But there seems to be one car that separates itself from the rest of the field. We've talked about that plenty, but he's performing especially against the odds that are out there.
yeah. I think, I mean, I don't know. The bookkeeper, maybe like a bookmaker, probably just not watching the race. But honestly, Last week Racing Ball did so well. They quality so well. They do have the pace to actually deliver high speed one lap speed, right? And even Liam Lawson, like we probably also don't give enough credit to Liam Lawson, and he's finally coming out of the shadow, being demoted from Red Bull to Racing Ball. But
So
he
Liam
probably
Lawson is 300 to 1 odds to win the race if you want to have any sort of I guess idea what how that I mean, and that's the same as Isaac Hadjar. So like they're
yeah.
given a 0.33% chance to win the race. So that's probably not what we're talking about here, but there's still plenty of value in that top 10, top 6, top 3
Yeah,
finish, which is probably worth talking about if you'd like to even go further to compare Isaac Hadjar to Liam Lawson. But the question began with Isaac Hadjar, so I'd love to hear your take on that. And if you want to
yeah.
expand to Liam, you can too.
Yeah. I just want to talk about like Racing Ball as a whole with their car, and obviously when it comes to like sort of the two driver in that same car, like their performance difference, that's another topic which I think is what you are interested. But we can't really I mean Racing Ball again. I think we have to talk about the car itself. Racing Ball does have like I think that's really one of the surprising midfield car coming into this season as compared to prior season. They were always kind of the bottom three, and then really coming up into like even sometimes top five and top six, in the constructor. And right now we're really comparing more of a William and a Racing Ball in like the number five, right? You got like McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, and then is it William on the good days, and or is it Racing Bull on the good days? That being said, I think both like in that way, from a pure car performance, Isaac Harja and Liam Lawson have a decent shot going into top 10. But when we look at both driver, like I mentioned, Liam Lawson got demoted. He started the season with Red Bull and did two races and got demoted. And that's a quite of a confidence crash on any person. Like that. I mean, he got picked at the end of last season to over Daniel Ricciardo, the beloved F1 driver the entire world loves. Um, but I think again, like he really finally coming out of that shadow, and but Isaac Harja just has been so consistent being a rookie. Like technically Liam Lawson raced in Racing Ball last year, so he's not really a rookie. But again, Isaac Harja, I think is a better driver than Liam Lawson, which is why he's probably top 10 odds is like better than Liam Lawson, but I do think even both of them have a decent chance in top 10, given their car is like top five,
Yeah, so it sounds like Liam Lawson currently
top
plus
six. Yeah.
plus 160 to finish top 10. So longer odds, but to me, just based on how they've performed and finished so far this season, Hadjar's been ahead of Liam
Yep.
Lawson ever since the switch. It seemed to be the closest in Monaco, but I think you could argue that's probably a lot based on the team construction. So
Yep.
I think for me, just from looking at the data in front of me here and you talk about it, it seems like the vehicle is worth backing. But I'm still, I think, going to stick with Isaac Hadjar as more
Yeah.
likely of the two to finish higher. And I still think getting plus 105 is a pretty valuable opportunity. He didn't finish top 10, I believe, in Saudi or in Miami it was. But I mean, he's had a pretty good string ever since. So I'm pretty interested there. And as we get kind of a little bit later in our episode, was there anything that you wanted to mention? We seem to talk about Mercedes a lot and haven't really
Mhm.
touched on them so far in this episode. What's the deal? What did the Germans forget how to F1? What's happened here?
Well, Mercedes, I guess the past two races really just didn't deliver anything, right? The Imola, they had a engine issue, or for Kimi, and then Monaco, they had engine issue when George was trying to qualify. Which is why they both ended up like didn't get into Q3 and then just stuck behind William the whole race. But I mean, I think that coming into Barcelona, it's a better track for them, to be honest. It's a lot long streets, and they always do better on the long streets. And their car is still, in my opinion, better than Ferrari. Um, I think you kind of see all the season local cars, all the season results. Lando and Oscar are always in the top three, and then the other three, the other third sort of person on the podium is either George or Max. Obviously, Charles and Louis once in a while come into play as well, but it's more rotating between Max and George, right? So I do think hopefully they resolve their technical issue or engine issue, but given the past poor performance, I'm definitely not going for them for my fantasy lineup. Um, but I think here, like, I mean, the market seems like liking George, like putting him back, like in front of Charles Leclerc, right?
Yep.
So I honestly, but I do think we haven't talked much about Max Verstappen for
Let's do
this
it.
race.
Let's do
Yeah,
it. We might as well talk about the best driver who may not be in the best vehicle.
because I think we've been talking about Red Bull start coming back with their car, right? It's making improvement. Probably not as fast as any driver wants their own car. Like they always want the best car, right? But again, Max with his ability, like Monaco, he finished second, right? Or oh, that's Charles. Sorry, he
Uh,
finished
Max
fourth.
was fourth. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
fourth in Monaco.
But I think if truly tomorrow the technical directive on the flex front flex wings that's gonna limit it a little bit performance on the McLaren, Max is absolutely gonna take that advantage. That being said, um, I think it's a little bit low for him, like being the money line is being like
Yeah, yeah.
333.
23% implied probability plus
Yeah,
333. Yep.
yeah, I think Um, it's a lot overtake, a lot high speed corner. Like he's like just he like Red Bull is good there, and he's like exceptional driver there as well. So I think this could be one of the Red Bull, track even. Not
Mm.
saying McLaren gonna like they still gonna be on the podium, but I think the podium is probably more of a McLaren and also plus Max and potentially another one.
Yeah,
So one of
maybe
the
maybe
McLaren
some.
could become off the podium.
Ooh, maybe Isaac Hadjar coming up there, as he's now my favorite driver. So
Right.
let's move to the best bet portion of the show. Very short and sweet from Joe Dollar this week. Thank you for always supporting, of course, longtime Patreon subscriber, patreon.com/real_G Warner. If you want to get involved on maybe the hottest Major League Baseball month I've had in my lifetime, I'm very, very sad. It's the 30th of May. There's only one day left, and I'm sure it all changes June 1st. Just kidding. I hope it doesn't. But it's been a really good month. And thank you, of course, to all the support. Those of you who've been listening to our podcast, Betting the Pitch Formula One edition on Apple Podcasts. You can find it under the name Betting the Pitch. Same on Spotify, also on YouTube at the real_G Warner. And I will be posting the reel this episode. I will be doing it because I'm going to be cutting it right when we finish so I don't forget. And so let's go. Let's go to our best bets. Angel, so we have a lot more available to us this time. We can go top three, top six, top 10. I'll get the number for you, whatever you're looking for. Or if you want to pick a winner, it doesn't sound like you're picking Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I mean I kind of look across. We talk about Isaac Hajar top 10 and we talk Liam Lawson top 10 and which are also a higher bet, right? A valuable bet.
Sure.
And then we talk about George. I guess what's George in top three?
George top three right now is he is plus 205 to finish top three. So
Okay.
about 33% chance or so.
And I guess Lando, Oscar, and Max, they're next
They are
in.
they are the minus. Yes, they are
Yeah.
they are expected to finish top three for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah. Okay. So all that even compare with Max winning the race 333, I'm actually gonna go for the value one, which is Max winning the race.
I'm so surprised, but hey, I'm glad you did it. I'll cut this video in, then we'll get out of here. Hey, this is real underscore G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. It's the ultimate best bet for the Formula One edition of the Betting the Pitch podcast. You might have just heard at Roscoe Poop Scoop if you listened to our full episode. She shocked the world, or at least shocked me, where she's going Max Verstappen plus 333 to win the Spanish Grand Prix. Shocking to me for sure. Especially, she said, this might be a better race for the Red Bulls. And, I might as well just listen to my co host. And if you want more plays across all sports, including a really hot Major League Baseball, check out patreon.com/real underscore G Warner. But for my best bet on this episode, I'm gonna ride the horse that brought me. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Wrong.
Isaac Hadjar, finish top 10. Let's do it. Let's get on the podium. It's probably not happening, but top 10 plus 105. We'll take that all the way to the bank. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in on this beautiful Friday. I hope there's enough time to get to the pool. Just kidding. I don't need to get more skin cancer, but it's been a great run. Angel, you have a great weekend. We'll see you on the next episode as we prepare for the Canadian Grand Prix in the Circuit de Villeneuve. And I'll work on my pronunciation for next time. Goodbye.
Bye. Have a good one.